Let's have a look at the bosses and how we're going to defeat them in Brackenhide Hollow for Season 4 of Dragonflight. For the first boss, we're actually coming up against 3 individuals, and that's going to be Gutshot, Hackclaw, and Trick Totem. Starting off with Trick Totem at the back, they're going to repeatedly cast a spell called Earth Bolt, and you can see that being cast here, and it's going to be shot at a random target. You can interrupt these. It's not the absolute highest priority, but it is going to make your healer's life a lot easier, especially in higher keys. You're going to see here that Rita is actually going to do a Blade Storm here. It goes without saying that you need to kite and get out of this at all costs. He is going to actually be slowed by about 70% while channeling this, so it isn't too difficult, but try and stay away if you're ranged, and melee, of course, just zoom out of there as fast as your legs will take you. This one here from Trick Totem, again, that you can see has been interrupted, is Greater Healing Rapids. TLDR, it's a healing spell, of course. You want to interrupt this one at all costs so that the bosses don't heal. And again here, you can see the Earth Bolt being interrupted with spare interrupts. You'll also see you'll get a DBM or whatever you're using message for the Hex Trick Totem. Make sure to cleave this down as soon as possible, otherwise somebody will be hexed and therefore incapacitated. Periodically, Hackclaw is going to cast Savage Charge, and you can see that by the big red arrow. This time it is on me, and as you can see, it's quite a slow cast time here on Savage Charge. What you want to do is have the tank actually stand in the middle and absorb this damage. If the tank does not do this, then the person hit will very likely die. If somebody has an immunity that they can use, this can of course be done via that way, but you should tell your tank if you are intending to do this. Otherwise, if you're in a pug, for example, they could stand in front of it and then waste valuable health. When any one of them drops below 15% health, Trick Totem is actually going to put Blood Frenzy on them, increasing their haste and damage. So the best way to avoid this happening is by cleaving them down, if possible, all together in a group, and therefore their health will go down evenly. You can then see here Gashtooth is casting Gash Frenzy over here, and he's going to be stepping behind people, as you can see, dancing around, gashing them, and leaving a bleed effect until you top them up above 90% health. That is a really, really, really important one for the healer. You need to get people above 90% health, otherwise this is going to absolutely obliterate them. Gashtooth will also actually go behind one individual person, repeatedly stabbing them with Marked for Butchery. Again, you need to heal up the person with this as quickly as possible, or use any defensives and immunities. Again, regarding topping people up, there's also an actual aura on this boss fight, where the more health that you as allies have missing, the more damage the bosses will deal. And this is for every 10% of health. And therefore, as a healer, you really, really want to keep everyone above 90% health whenever absolutely possible. Otherwise, the bosses are going to do more and more damage the lower health you guys are. So it is a very healing intensive fight. One last thing for the tank on Hackclaw, the actual auto attacks do also cleave, so you must be careful, especially if you're grouping these bosses up to cleave them down, because of the cleave that they do. Next up we have Treemouth. First of all, you can see this Vine Whip here, which is going to push you back. This is for the tank, of course, and just make sure you face this out of the raid. Then you can see the bosses casting Decay Spray on a random player, and there's a red arrow over your head. When this actually hits, you're going to get these green puddles that are going to spawn some adds, Decaying Slime, and these are going to cast here Gushing Ooze. So you can't interrupt the ability that the boss does spawning them, however you can interrupt the Gushing Ooze that the actual slimes do. When you defeat these Decaying Slimes, they're then going to burst, as you can see here, exploding, and leaving a nasty mess on the ground. It will only deal damage to players within 5 yards, so you just want to make sure you're not standing near this when it happens to go off when they die. Treemouth is then going to start going crazy and casting Grasping Vines, as you can see here, and it's literally going to put these vines, as you can see, on everyone, and it's going to pull everyone in. Now, the closest person there that does get taken in, as you can see, he's going to eat them, and I'm jumping up and down inside his mouth there, and he's going to be doing the consuming buff. It will actually affect all players, not just one, that are in the close vicinity of 10 yards to him when he does this. And he will also get an Absorb Shield when he does it. What you want to do is generally let the tank be consumed, because of course they are the most hearty one out of the group usually. If you do not let anyone get consumed, you guessed it, he's going to enrage, and that will be a permanent enrage. So somebody must be consumed. As a healer, of course, you need to be spot healing this person, and that's pretty much it for Treemouth. So when he does the cone frontal, of course, face it away from the group, cleave down the mobs that spawn ASAP, and make sure you're interrupting them. And also make sure you're far away when he does the vines, and then pulls you all in with the most durable or the tank, namely being the same person usually, getting consumed with the healer spot healing that person. Third up is going to be Gutshot. And you can see Gutshot here is actually spawning with 2 Rotfang hyenas. The hyenas are going to play a considerable role in this boss fight. They're only going to attack the tank until Gutshot casts a spell called Meat Toss. Basically, she's going to throw a piece of meat at you, kind of like how, you know, they dangle meat in the water for sharks, and then the hyenas are going to follow that person. You need to CC and kite them as much as possible, because if they do touch you, they're going to apply a deadly bleed. Now, thankfully, what she will also do is throw out these traps here. You can see here, you get an arrow on your head, a green swirly, and the trap then hits. You want to kite the hyenas through these traps to ensnare them, and therefore doing CC for you. Again, don't let them catch you, because you will get a bleed effect on you when they do. You do not want to go into the trap yourself, because you will also get ensnared if you do, meaning the hyenas can even quickly catch up to you. She will also, as you can see at this point, call in more Rotfang hyenas throughout the fight. As a healer, if somebody does get caught by the hyenas, of course, that is your responsibility to top them up after that bleed is afflicted, but hopefully that won't happen. You should be focusing the hyenas down when you can. She will also gain a aura when they're close to her, increasing damage done. So when you are kiting them around, that's actually where you'd prefer them to be. You don't want the hyenas actually being close for her, or at least not for too long. Basically, as short of a duration as you can handle, and therefore cleaving them down is going to be important. They will also cast, as you can see here, Bounding Leap, where they're going to jump to a random person, as you can see here. Make sure you avoid that when it happens as well. That is pretty much it for Gutshot. Basically, just kite the hyenas through the traps, avoid the traps yourself, cleave them down, and don't get hit by the hyenas. It really is that simple for this boss. Last up, we've got the Decatriarch Wratheye. The main tactic of this fight is something that they're going to summon, Choking Rot Cloud. And you can see here, that is going to make this big, lovely cloud of rot that is going to travel around the arena. You basically just want to avoid this one at all costs. It's going to be there pretty much constantly. You can also see here, a Rot Burst Totem is about to be spawned here. You want to absolutely nuke this down when it does spawn. The totem, as you can see, is going to be casting Rotting Burst, and it's going to keep doing this, inflicting damage on your party until destroyed. It is your number one priority to nuke that totem. If you do get hit by the cloud, it's not just damage you take, you also get a debuff called Withering Rot that's actually going to reduce your damage taken as well, so it is imperative that you do not get hit. You can also see then she's doing Decaying Strength here, sapping us all with power, and that's actually going to empower herself with the debuff I've just spoken about. So if you get hit by the cloud, you get a debuff. She then saps that debuff off you to empower herself. Of course, it will also do damage to you when she's channeling that, increased by the amount of that debuff that you had that you shouldn't be getting anyway. You can also see that she's casting Decay Strike. This is going to be on the tank, and you want to use mitigation against this when possible. This is actually going to do damage twice and also apply an absorption on the tank that, as the healer, you need to heal over. Basically, it's going to absorb a load of healing and do damage, so you need to heal up the tank as quickly as possible when they get hit with Decay Strike. And that is pretty much it for this boss. So avoid the cloud at all costs. Healer, heal up the tank after Decay Strike to get over that absorb, and nuke down the totem as quickly as possible. Really, it's quite a chaotic fight, but actually, in terms of tactics, it is actually fairly simple. And that's it, guys. That is it for Brackenhide Hollow for Season 4 of Dragonflight. If you need to see the other dungeon guides, click this playlist here on my channel. Let me know your thoughts below, how you're enjoying Season 4, and you can join our Discord if you need any more help. You can also join my Patreon if you would like to get my UI and any other of my resources that I have on there for you guys, or if you just want to support the channel, of course. Speaking of the channel, if you do check it out, there is actually all PvE class guides for Season 4, as well as PvP, in case those interest you as well.